Welcome back, fourth graders. We are going to finish up where the mountain meets the moon today. So we are going to start with chapter 47. And just to activate your schema, remember at the end of chapter 46, Minley just made it home, put down her stuff on the table, and went into her bed to sleep. So chapter 47. Minley, Minley! Ma and Ba's happiness burst from them like exploding firecrackers. And even before she could open her eyes, they had flung themselves upon her. The joy! How it flowed and flooded her over her. More golden than the king's dragon bracelet, sweeter than a peach from the queen mother's garden, and more beautiful than a goddess of heaven. Minley smiled, treasuring her good fortune. Ma and Ba only stopped hugging when her stomach began to grumble with hunger. Ma rushed to make a special breakfast, taking out the carefully saved dried pork to make Minley's favorite porridge, while Ba jumped to get some fresh water to make tea. When Ba went into the main room, he made a choking noise that caused Minley and Ma to come running. "What is that?" he said, pointing. Minley followed his finger and saw him pointing at her traveling possessions on the table. The fish swam merrily around in its bowl as the silk of her brocade bag made the sunlight skip around the room. "That is a bag given to me by the king of the city of the bright moonlight," Minley said. "It is very fine, isn't it?" "Not that," Ba said, waving the bag away. "That!" And now Minley saw that he was pointing to the dragon's stone ball. "It's just a gift from a friend," Minley said, handing it to her father. Ba took it in his hands. A look of awe was on his face. "This is not just any gift," Ba whispered, and he took his sleeve and gently rubbed the surface of the stone. To Minley's great surprise, the grayness of the stone began to smudge away, and a translucent, lustrous glow seemed to shine through. "This is a dragon's pearl." Minley and Ma stared. "A dragon's pearl?" Ma said slowly. She sat down and looked at Minley. "A dragon's pearl is worth the emperor's entire fortune." Minley opened her mouth, but before any words could come out, there was a great shouting and clamoring outside on the street. Ba quickly, but carefully, put the dragon pearl back on the table before they all hurried out to see what the uproar was about. "What is it?" Ma asked, grabbing a neighbor. The entire village had flowed into the street, talking and shouting like a flock of birds discovering a feast. "What is happening?" "It's Fruitless Mountain," the neighbor said. "Fruitless Mountain has turned green." "What?" Ba said. It's true," another neighbor chimed in. "Fruitless Mountain is no longer fruitless, and the Jade River is clear and fresh, too." Minley, Ma, and Ba looked at the mountain. It was true. Fruitless Mountain was no longer a black shadow above them. As the day dawned, the mountain had transformed. A green lushness seemed to bloom from the rock. A jewel-colored splendor softened the sharp edges that had painfully sliced the sky. The sky itself seemed to be embracing the mountain. The wind softly caressed the newborn greenery with a nurturing breeze and skimmed the Jade River. The water, now as clear as tears of joy. "How is this possible?" Ma asked. "Jade Dragon must be happy again," Ba said. "Perhaps she is reunited with one of her dragon children." "Dragon?" Minley thought, and her quick-thinking mind seemed to spin. Dragon said he was making his home on Fruitless Mountain. Could he be one of Jade Dragon's children? But how? Dragon was born from a painting, from paintbrushes and inkstones. And like an echo, Minley remembered Ma talking about the artist who had come to Fruitless Mountain many years ago. He took the mountain rock to carve into inking stones. Perhaps Dragon was born from an inkstone made of Fruitless Mountain, the heart of Jade Dragon. Then perhaps he was one of Jade Dragon's children. And by bringing him to Fruitless Mountain, Minley had discovered how to make Fruitless Mountain green again. Minley! A villager, finally recovered from the shock of the green mountain, stared at Minley. You came back! Look, everyone, Minley has returned! As the neighbors clamored around, Ma sighed. It was a sigh of joy, a sound of happiness that floated like a butterfly in the air. Good fortune has come to the village, Ma said, smiling, and to us too. Yes, Ba said, looking affectionately at Minley, but the best fortune is the one that returned. Minley smiled back, and suddenly, as she thought about her journey to and from Never-Ending Mountain, Minley realized that while she had not asked the Old Man of the Moon any of her questions, they had all been answered. Chapter 48. The Goldfish Man shaded his eyes as he pushed his cart along the Jade River. Yes, he was almost there. How long had it been? 2 years? Perhaps 3? Yes, the poor village of Fruitless Mountain should be ahead soon, he thought. But possibly he was mistaken. When he had been there last, the most striking characteristic of the landscape had been the Black Mountain, its shadow casting gloom upon the village. But there was no dark silhouette in the sky now. In fact, the landscape looked as if it were from a heavenly painting. A majestic green mountain sat in harmony with the deepening blue sky, the sun spreading its light for the last time before it set. Had he taken a wrong turn somewhere? As he gazed, 2 flying figures in the sky caught his eye, red and orange. A dragon and his mate frolicking amongst the clouds? Wait, dragons? The Goldfish Man shook his head in disbelief, rubbed his eyes, and looked again. Only the dimming sky and feathery clouds fanning the wind were above. I must have been imagining things, he thought. The Goldfish Man pushed onward. The water in the fish bowls rippled and waved as the fish gazed calmly. Their brilliant colors against the abundant green land glinted like gold and jade. As he entered the village, the Goldfish Man again began to doubt if he was in the right place. Smooth stone lined the roadway, and instead of the rough board houses he remembered, rich wooden doors, some elaborately carved, lined the street. As he pushed his cart down the narrow street, lively children dressed in gay colors flew toward him like a festival of silk kites. Goldfish, goldfish, they cried. Ma, Ba, can we get one? Parents walked over and smiled indulgently at their children, and by the time the sun disappeared, the Goldfish Man had sold out of his wares. Clearly, this was not the same poor village he had come to before, where only that one girl purchased a fish. But then he remembered hearing a story about how a family that lived by the Jade River had given the king of the city of bright moonlight the incredible gift of a dragon pearl, refusing any payment. In gratitude, the king presented the entire village with gifts of seeds and farming equipment that brought more prosperity than any reward of gold and jade. Maybe this was the place. Little one, the Goldfish Man asked a young girl dressed in a peony pink silk jacket and a leaf green pantaloons. The last time I was here, the last time I came to the village of Fruitless Mountain, a child ran away from home. What happened to her? Ran away from here? The girl looked at him in disbelief, as if the idea was foreign. Then she nodded. Oh, you must mean Minley. That's when this used to be called Village of Fruitless Mountain. Now it's called the Village of Fruitful Mountain. Yes, Minley, the Goldfish Man said. I think that was her name. What happened to her? She and her family live over there. The girl waved her arm. They built a courtyard in front and in back of their house. It's behind the gate with the pictures of the lucky children on the door. The Goldfish Man wheeled his empty cart to the indicated gate. On each half of the crimson doors hung a painting of a round-faced, laughing child dressed in brilliant red. Their pink cheeks and merry smiles made it impossible not to smile back. And as he grasped one of the metal door knockers shaped like a grinning lion head, he realized that the painting on the left was of a girl and the one on the right was of a boy. The door flew open as soon as he knocked, and the goldfish man was face to face with a woman he scarcely recognized. He recognized her even less when she threw her arm around him like an old friend. "You," she said to him, her face wrinkling in cheerful smiles. Come in, come in. My husband will be happy to see you." The goldfish man, speechless with surprise, let himself be led through the gate doors. Was this the mother with the angry eyes he had met in the woods long ago? Yes, this pleasant-faced woman, her plum-colored coat embroidered with flowering trees, was the same person. He shook his head in disbelief. As he glanced upward, he realized the courtyard was like a well for the sky. The stars and night seemed to flow into it endlessly. Was the courtyard built for just that purpose? He wondered. Light from the house streamed through the lattice-patterned doors, illuminating the enclosure like a lit lantern. There, the father was surrounded by visiting children whom the goldfish man recognized as his earlier customers. Some of the children were playing on the ground with clay toys of boys, buffalo, monkeys, and rabbits, while others were being served tea by the father. "This tea is a gift from our faraway friends," the father was saying as he handed each child a cup. "They call it Husband!" the woman called. "Husband, look who is here!" As he caught sight of the goldfish man, the father stopped in mid-sentence, and his face broke into a wide smile. "Ah!" he cried, "dear friend!" And like the mother, before letting him bow politely, the father embraced him warmly. "Come," the father said, "have some tea. My wife will bring out some cakes and snacks." The goldfish man finally found his voice. "I am glad to see you and your wife so happy and prosperous," he said. "I only stopped to see if last time we met, how was your daughter?" "Minley?" the father said, laughing, waving his hand toward the house. "She's in the back. She will be happy to see you too, but she will come out later. This is the time time of night she likes to watch the moon." "She returned then?" the goldfish man asked. "I thought she would. What happened?" "Ah, my friend," Ba laughed again, "you have come at the right time. Why do you think these children are here?" And sorry, I forgot to show you the picture of the door. "They come here every night because they want to hear the story again. The story of Minley's journey to and from Never-Ending Mountain. Come, sit. You can hear it for the first time." The goldfish man sat down willingly on a stone seat and found a fragrant cup of tea in his hand. The children clamored around Ba, each more excited than the last and eager for the story to begin. But as Ma went inside the house to get refreshments, she left the door wide open, and the goldfish man could not help but peering in. He could see all the way through the house to the back courtyard, where the figure of a young girl sat on a bench, a small pond of fish at her feet. The moonlight washed over everything like a rich bath of gold and silver, making the fish shimmer like pearls, and the girl glow with a magical glory reserved for the stars of heaven. But Minley was obviously unaware of all around her, lost in faraway dreams. For even in the misty light, the goldfish man could see her smiling a secret smile up to the sky, to where the mountain meets the moon. And that is the story. What are you thinking? How would you rate it? So in the back of this book, there are some reader's guide questions. If you're interested in thinking about some of these, you can grab a copy of the book. You can also typically Google these. So if you just Google like Reader's Guide questions for Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, you can typically find those online as well. And then I just want to share, there's a really long section of the book that's behind the story. And so this is from the author telling about what made her want to write this story, where she got her inspiration. And I'm not going to read the entire thing, but the gist is, so the author, Grace Lin, grew up as the only Asian in her elementary school class and one of the very few minorities in her town. And as she was growing up, instead of embracing her heritage, by the age of 11, she really wanted nothing to do with her culture. As she became an adult, she became fascinated. And so she started reading tons of tales, Chinese folk tales and fairy tale books that her mom had in the house. And then she began to visit. She went to Hong Kong, Taiwan, and China, and all of these stories came flooding back to her. And so these are places she visited on her trips that she used for inspiration in her book. So this is something she saw when she was there, and she sketched that, and that became the City of Raining Moonlight, maybe. She visited this garden, which became the inspiration for the Bright Moonlight Palace garden. Here's the inspiration for the rock that Min Lee was hiding behind. Here were the inspiration for why am I drawing a blank? Da'afu. So it's really kind of cool how she walks through that and talks about that. So friends, I hope you enjoyed Where the Mountain Meets the Moon. If you did enjoy this, also know that she has written another book for kids called Starry River of the Sky. And it's this purple covered book down here. So if you liked this one and you want to continue with the author Grace Lin, that's another choice that you might enjoy. Don't forget to go on Goodreads and mark another book as read. Great job, fourth graders.